Hello, internet friends, family, and horror fiends. 'Tis I, but the old man, back with yet another tale of my rural law enforcement officer. In this one, I was still a rookie, and such, I caught the shit cases. The calls were usually by crazies or senile old folks that imagined an intruder with multiple heads. Those calls were the ones that the more seasoned officers had grown tired of. The first dozen or two calls I rolled were in fact false. They were the result of old age, mental illness, and wild imaginations. Paranoid youngsters that hear a thump when they're home alone. All were perfectly understandable and easily diffused. Then, well, there was this case. Like I said, I was still a rookie, wet behind the ears, so to say. It was early spring of '68, maybe April or May, not entirely sure on that. I do know that it was unusually warm for that time of year. I had been assigned the night shift, 12 to 12, simply because my boss, well, he was a dick. And I made a pass at his daughter. Really fucked him up when I later invited him to our wedding. Anyway, I was chugging truck stop coffee and dumping handfuls of no-dose pills just to be awake for my shift. The parking lot was on the side of a main stretch of interstate leading towards our little hamlet. Is that the right word? Nah. I was just swallowing a new handful of caffeine pills with the slug of that nuclear hell-hot coffee from the truck stop near my current stopping place, when the radio decided to kick on. Nearly choked on my pills and spit out the coffee onto the steering wheel as I tried to answer the call.
Car 78, what's your 20? Over. Dispatch, this is Car 78. I'm at the local truck stop, parked outside waiting for violations. Over. Car 78, we need you to roll code 3 to address. For a possible domestic disturbance with malice and intent, subject is possibly armed with a handgun. Victim is one Miss Tina Edmonton, 24 years old, brown hair, blue eyes. Offender is believed to be the husband, one George Edmonton. Roll and repeat. Over. Roger that.
I hit the lights and sirens and made the 10-minute trip a little bit quicker. About 200 yards from the driveway, I killed the sirens, but I left the lights on to semi-announce my presence. I pulled into the driveway. I immediately noticed that both of the vehicles were in the yard, rather than the driveway. As I parked my cruiser, I started to notice some strange things right away. I felt like something was watching me, something big. Whatever it was not friendly. I also had every one of the hairs on my arm standing straight up, along with the little hairs on the back of my neck. I could feel something else too. Something I can only describe as buzzing or vibrating deep inside my body. Like how your hands feel after a couple hours of weed whacking. But it was over my entire body. For a moment it was actually kind of a pleasant feeling. But then it started to intensify, until I could feel an electric current traveling across every inch of my skin. It eventually faded into a dull feeling, like being covered by walking flies. Ugh. I managed to push all of this down to a sustainable level. I even managed to convince myself along the way that it was due to a caffeine overdose. I laid my hand on the handle of my service weapon, as my thumb undid the leather strap securing the piece into my holster. Hand on firearm, I approached the open door. Things were silent. Not supernatural silent, but quiet enough to where I could hear my own heartbeat. As I approached the door, I called out and identified myself. "Hello, County Sheriff's Department. I need to speak with you. Hello. If you do not respond, I will enter the premises and search for you." I ascended the broken and crumbling cement steps to the front door. Standing in the open doorway, it was obvious that a bad fight had happened. Furniture was strewn about, tables tipped over, a couch was overturned on its side, split by some type of sharp blade. The carpet was even cut up and rolled back in a couple of spots. Dishes were shattered and laying around everywhere. The place was really truly in shambles. However, there were no bloodstains or signs of any other injuries. Straining to hear, hoping to hear, signs of life from the wife or even movement of the husband. Again, I announced myself. "Hello, police, I need you to come out right now." I made my way through the home, careful not to step on any of the evidence. And I found the guest bedroom first. It looked a lot like the living room. Mattress sliced open, drawers pulled out, contents scattered around. In my rookie brain, it was obvious someone had been looking for something that they really wanted. As I made my way to the master bedroom, I started to hear something. An intermittent plop noise every few seconds. Again, I announced myself. County Sheriff's Department, I need you to step out right now, or I'm coming in. You will go to jail today. Come out now, and maybe we can talk this whole thing out. I lied. I was already pissed, and somebody was already going to jail that day. As I turned the knob to the bedroom, I could have swore I heard something shuffling in the room. I quietly and slowly turned the knob before kicking the door open, weapon drawn. I entered the room, and the source of the plopping noise was Mr. Edmonton on the ceiling. His body was completely destroyed. Flesh was hanging off in strips, allowing blood to drain and drip into pools under the body. His head was oddly off, and it took me far longer than I care to admit to discover that it was turned around backwards. His chest was facing the floor, and his face was on the ceiling. I couldn't see what was affixing the body to the ceiling, and I didn't have a lot of time to absorb my surroundings. As I was looking at the body of the deceased, I heard a soft shuffling sound. This time, I was able to determine the location of the source of the sound. It was coming from the shut closet doors. Again, I announced myself. Police, come out now with your hands up, and in plain sight, come out on your own. Don't make this more difficult than it has to be. I stated it. I listened closely. I could distinctly hear a small shuffle, and then what sounded like 3 or 4 deadbolts clicking into place at the same time. I quickly rushed the door, tearing the closet open, my weapon raised. I was met with an empty closet. Large walk-in type closet, but still a fucking empty closet. Now, I know I heard something moving inside the closet, but the clothing was hanging there, stationary. Everyone knows when you touch something hanging in a closet, it sways for a little while. I pushed the clothing aside, and I inspected the back wall. It was a solid white wall, but it was cold to the touch. Much colder than it was that day. I was running my hand down the wall when a loud crash occurred from the direction of the kitchen. I turned to rush that way, and as I did, I felt a cold breeze blow over me. It was like I was standing in front of an industrial freezer blowing sub-zero air. I shivered a bit and stepped out of the closet. I crossed the threshold from closet to bedroom, and I was overcome with a feeling of intense vertigo. The world was swirling around me, twisting and turning. For a moment, I thought I saw a young woman, what would have matched the description of the wife, walking through the wall and outside of the house. Again, I shrugged this all off as an overdose of shitty coffee and stay-awake pills. I walked from the bedroom down the short hall to the kitchen. In the kitchen, which was absolutely a mess when I arrived, stood a young girl, maybe 10 or 11. The kitchen was clean, and the living room was perfect. As I turned around to attempt to gather my head, I saw the yard. There were no vehicles out there other than mine. I turned back to address the child. Hey, sweetie, where's your... She was gone. I closed my eyes to calm myself. I was absolutely shitting peach pits at this point. And when I opened them just a couple of seconds later, I was standing in the middle of a burnt-out house. There was nothing there. And honestly, I was afraid I'd fall through the floor. I made my way to the cruiser, the whole time having a fit of every fucking emotion imaginable. I slumped into the driver's seat and I looked at the burnt husk of a home. From the looks, it had been burnt for quite a while. In fact, there was a small tree growing through the roof near the master bedroom closet. Now, I was pissed off. I keyed my radio only to find it non-functional. I tried my portable. It wouldn't work either. I took a few deep breaths, finished my coffee, and left it on the console. I backed out of the driveway and turned to leave. My radio crackled to life the point I hit the road.
Car 78, what's your 20? Over.
Dispatch, this is 78. I'm where you sent me a while ago. I'm just leaving. Over.
Car 78, I haven't spoken to you all night. I've been trying to contact you for almost 2 hours now. I was about to send patrol out looking. Over.
Dispatch, you called me out to the Edmonton place for domestic violence. When I got there...
It was burned down. Yeah, no shit. 78, it burned back in 59. Miss Edmonton had been getting beaten and, well... Come to the station, we could talk about it. I was wondering when you would get the call. Over.
I made my way back to the station and tried to settle my nerves. Before I got to town, I smelled a strong smell of something burning. I looked out the side windows and I didn't see anything. And when I glanced into the rear view, I screamed and slammed on the brakes, sliding all over the road. When I completely came to a stop, I leapt from the car and peered into the back window. It was an empty seat. But I knew for a fact there was a burnt corpse in my back seat. I made my way back to the station where I would have a long chat with Irene. The short of it is, Mr. E had been beating the ever-living shit out of his wife multiple times. She had taken it and never complained once. That is, until the beating caused her to have a miscarriage. When she healed from that one, she slipped her hubby a few strong sleeping pills. And while he was out, she gutted him. She then set the house on fire with the body inside, before she just vanished into thin air. Nobody could explain how the tiny woman managed to drive 10 nails into her husband's dead body while it was against the ceiling. When the fire was finally put out, they found him charred and nailed to the ceiling. They never found the wife, and nobody was really looking to arrest her for the murder of that bastard. Few people did try to find her, but they did so because they were worried about her. Each one of them would end the effort within 3 or 4 days. They simply told people she must not want to be found. The smell of a burning corpse lingered in my cruiser for weeks, and I was the only one who could smell it. Apparently, this is what happened. Every rookie would get that call once. Every one of them would be tormented by that smell. Each had a slightly different experience in the house, but enough alike to match up. Anytime I burn my dinner, I remember that moment in the car. God help me, that fucking smell. It's unforgettable. I want to thank all my lovely patrons who are absolutely what keep this channel alive. And if you want to pitch into that, the link is down below. Dan R, Neophyte Games, Chaos X, JY Pyromancer, Hayden MH, Ethan A, Daniel H, Maximilian Charles P, Go Cute Puppy LLC, Young Sykes, Dark Side of the Bear, Revenant Paul T, Mr. Swiston, and Sarcastic B. Thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate it.